Have you ever woken up in the morning, stretched your arms, and thought, why does my body feel like it needs an extra oil change these days? Or maybe you've noticed that climbing a flight of stairs isn't quite as effortless as it used to be. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. In fact, I've had that same thought myself more than a few times. Today, we're going to talk about something that's on a lot of our minds as we get older. When do men really start to feel those changes in their bodies? You know, the ones that make you say, wait a minute, when did that creak get added to my knees? Now, let me be clear. This isn't about fear or doom and gloom. It's about understanding what's normal, what's not, and, most importantly, what we can do about it. Because here's the truth, aging isn't a straight downhill slide. It's more like, well, a winding path. Some days you'll feel like you're strolling, other days like you're hiking uphill, but with the right tools, you can make that journey a whole lot smoother. So, let's start by tackling the big question. Is there a specific age when men's health deteriorates? The short answer, there's no magic number, but research and real life tell us that many men start noticing shifts in their 50s or 60s. Maybe your muscles don't bounce back as fast after yard work, or you need reading glasses to spot the fine print on a medicine bottle. But here's the good news. These changes don't have to define your life. In fact, some of the most vibrant, active years can still lie ahead. Let's talk about why that's true and how you can take charge. First, let's talk about the body's natural timeline. Around age 30, men's muscle mass begins to decline, about 3 to 5% per decade. But here's the kicker. That decline speeds up after 60 if we're not proactive. Think of it like a car. If you ignore maintenance, parts wear out faster. But if you keep up with oil changes and tune-ups, that engine can keep purring for miles and miles. So, what's the equivalent of a tune-up for us? Movement. And I don't mean running marathons or lifting tractor tires. Simple, consistent activity, like walking, gardening, or even dancing to your favorite oldies, can make a world of difference. My neighbor Frank is 72 and still chops his own firewood. His secret? He does 10 minutes of stretching every morning and takes his dog for a brisk walk after dinner. Small habits, big results. Now, let's talk about something we don't always mention, the mind. Did you know that memory lapses, like walking into a room and forgetting why, are common as we age? But here's what's fascinating. The brain can adapt and grow new connections at any age. The key, keep it curious. Try a new recipe, play cards with friends, or even learn a few phrases in another language. My buddy Carl took up painting at 68, and now he's the Picasso of our local community center. Lastly, let's not forget the power of connection. Retirement, losing loved ones, or kids moving away can leave gaps in our social lives. And loneliness? It's not just hard on the heart. It can affect physical health too. But filling those gaps doesn't require a packed calendar. Something as simple as a weekly phone call with a grandchild or joining a book club can keep your spirits and your health strong. Remember, aging isn't about fighting decline. It's about working with your body, not against it. And guess what? You've already taken the first step by being here today. So, let's keep this conversation going. In the next part, we'll dig into how nutrition, sleep, and even your attitude play a role in rewriting the story of aging. Because the best chapters, well, they're still yours to write. You know, one of my favorite things about getting older is how much more I appreciate the little joys in life, like a perfectly ripe tomato or the smell of herbs simmering in a pot. Picks up a carrot with a playful grin. Which brings me to our next big topic, food. Now, I'm not here to lecture you about kale smoothies or portion control. Let's talk about how what we eat can be a secret weapon for feeling strong, sharp, and energized as the years go by. Here's the thing. As we age, our bodies process nutrients differently. You might have noticed that a big steak dinner sits heavier than it did 20 years ago, or that you can't skip breakfast without feeling foggy by noon. That's not a sign of deterioration. It's your body asking for a little extra care. Take protein, for example. After 60, we need more of it to maintain muscle mass, but many of us naturally eat less. My friend Jim, he's 67, started adding a handful of nuts to his morning oatmeal and a hard-boiled egg to his salads. Within a few weeks, he told me his legs felt steadier on his daily walks. Small tweaks, right? And if you're not a meat eater, no worries. Beans, lentils, and even quinoa pack a protein punch. But let's not forget the magic of color. Gestures to a vibrant array of veggies on the counter. Those deep greens, bright oranges, and rich reds, They're loaded with antioxidants that help fight inflammation, the sneaky culprit behind aches, stiffness, and even brain fog. You don't need a complicated diet, just aim for a rainbow on your plate. Even frozen veggies count. My motto? If it grows in the ground or on a tree, it's probably a good idea. Now, let's tackle something we all struggle with from time to time: sleep. Raise your hand if you've ever found yourself wide awake at 3 a.m., replaying a conversation from 1983. Winks. I've been there too, but here's what most people don't realize. Poor sleep isn't just a nuisance. It can actually accelerate some of the changes we associate with aging. As men get older, sleep patterns often shift. You might fall asleep earlier, wake up more often, or feel less rested in the morning. Some of that's natural. But if you're constantly exhausted, it's worth a closer look. The fix doesn't always require pills or fancy gadgets. Start with the basics: a dark, cool room, avoiding caffeine after lunch, and, this one's tough, limiting screen time before bed. My brother-in-law Ed swears by his wind-down hour. He reads a paperback, no screens, sips chamomile tea, and listens to old jazz records. He says it's like giving his brain a gentle signal that the day is done. And if you do wake up at night, don't stress. Keep a notepad by your bed to jot down those midnight thoughts. Sometimes just getting them out of your head is enough to drift back off. Now, let's talk about something we don't always connect to our health: attitude. Have you ever met someone who seems to thrive in their 70s or 80s, radiating energy and curiosity? Chances are they've mastered the art of mindset. Studies show that people who view aging as a natural, positive process tend to stay healthier and live longer. But let's be real, it's not always easy. Society bombards us with messages that getting older means slowing down, losing relevance, or becoming a burden. Hogwash. You've got decades of wisdom, resilience, and stories that matter. Embrace the freedom that comes with this chapter. Tried golf and hated it? Try pickleball. Always wanted to travel? Plan that weekend getaway. Even adopting a rescue pet, like my cousin Rita did, can give you a sense of purpose and a reason to smile every day. Here's the bottom line: aging isn't about loss. It's about adaptation. Your body and mind might ask for different things now than they did at 30, but that doesn't mean they're broken. It means they're wise. They're asking you to listen a little closer, to prioritize what truly fuels you, whether that's a hearty soup, a solid night's sleep, or a hobby that lights up your soul. In the final part of our conversation, we'll explore how to build a routine that works for you, one that balances rest and activity, keeps your heart strong, and reminds you every day that life after 60 isn't a decline, it's an invitation. You know, one of the most beautiful things I've learned about aging is that it's never too late to surprise yourself. Take those folks over there. Some of them didn't start practicing until their 70s. Now, they move like willow branches in the breeze. And that's what we're going to talk about today: how to build a life that keeps you feeling strong, curious, and truly alive, no matter what decade you're in. Let's start with your heart, not the emotional kind, though that's important too, but the one beating in your chest. Heart health often becomes a bigger focus after 60, and for good reason. But protecting it doesn't have to mean drastic changes. Think of it like tending a garden. Small, consistent care adds up. Aim for 30 minutes of movement most days. Now, that could be swimming, cycling, or even vacuuming the house with a little extra pep. The goal is to get your blood flowing without punishing your body. And here's a tip: pair activity with something you enjoy. My friend Lou listens to mystery podcasts while he walks. He says it's like solving crimes and staying fit at the same time. Next up, check-ins with yourself. I don't just mean doctor's appointments, though those are vital, but tuning in to how you feel day to day. Keep a simple journal. Note when you have energy slumps, aches, or even moments of joy. Over time, you'll spot patterns. Maybe that second cup of coffee in the afternoon is messing with your sleep, or a weekly coffee date with friends gives you a mood boost. And about those doctor's visits, I know. Nobody loves sitting in a waiting room, but catching small issues early can save you a world of trouble. My rule? Make it a ritual. Treat yourself to a nice lunch afterward, or call a grandkid on the drive home. Turn it into something to look forward to, not dread. Now let's talk about adaptation. Those glasses, 10 years ago, I'd have grumbled about needing them. Now, I call them my superpower lenses. Aging asks us to adjust, but that doesn't mean giving up what we love. Love hiking, but your knees protest? Try trekking poles or switch to scenic drives with short walks. Miss playing tennis? Try ping pong. It's easier on the joints and just as fun. The key is to focus on what you can do, not what you can't. My neighbor Walt had to give up running after knee surgery, so he took up bird watching. Turns out he spotted over 100 species in his backyard. He says it's like discovering a whole new world he never slowed down enough to see before. Finally, and this might be the most important piece, find your why. Purpose isn't just a buzzword. It's what gets you out of bed in the morning. For some, it's family. For others, it's creativity, volunteering, or simply savoring life's small pleasures. My Aunt May started a knitting group at her church at 82. They make hats for newborns, and she says every stitch feels like a love letter to the future. Your why doesn't need to be grand. It just needs to be yours. Maybe it's mastering sourdough bread, teaching your grandkids to fish, or finally reading all those classic novels stacked on your shelf. When you wake up with something to look forward to, your whole outlook shifts. So, let's wrap this up with the big picture. Aging isn't about counting candles or mourning what's changed. It's about curiosity, grit, and the quiet joy of knowing yourself deeply. Yes, your body will have its moments. Creaks, slower steps, the occasional forgetfulness. But those things don't erase the strength you've earned, the wisdom you've gathered, or the laughter that still bubbles up when you least expect it. Your job isn't to stay young. It's to stay you, just a brighter, bolder, more relaxed version. So take that walk, call that old friend, try that new recipe, and every once in a while, pause and think, look at me, still growing, still learning, still here. If this series resonated with you, I'd love to hear your stories in the comments. What's one small thing you've done lately that made you feel alive? Let's inspire each other. And if you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty more conversations like this coming your way. Until next time, remember, the best years aren't behind you. They're the ones you're living right now. Here's to making every one of them count.